Power of the Holy People 2, March 4th, 2011. People didn't seem to take me too seriously on the first Power of the Holy People video, so I guess I'll do a series on this subject. First, let me tell you a story about faith and belief. I worked as a toolmaker in California. One day the boss came into the tool room and said he needed a hole drilled through this hardened steel. Every toolmaker said that it could not be done and refused to do it. One said the drill would just make a bunch of squealing noises. Another said the drill would just get hot and smoke. And another said the drill would break. The boss was furious and said he'd do it himself. So we went over to the drill press, and all the tool makers just stood around and watched him. He puts a drill in the press and pulls down on the handle, and the drill starts screeching. And the tool maker said, "See, I told you." Determined, he continues, and the drill gets hot and starts smoking. He tries to cool it off with oil. Second toolmaker said, "Well, I told you it'd get hot." The boss continues drilling, and the drill bit breaks. Third toolmaker says, "Just as I said would happen, happened." Undetermined, the boss gets another drill bit and continues drilling. The drill starts screeching, then it starts smoking. He pours oil on it to cool it down, and we start to see some small metal chips at the tip of the drill bit, and we wonder if it's the drill bit itself that is deteriorating. But then we see the drill slowly starting to burrow its way through the hardened steel, and all of our jaws just drop in disbelief. We didn't think it could be done. But now we have seen it done, we are all determined to do it ourselves. We all tried to drill a hole through hardened steel, and only one toolmaker was successful. And when we asked him how he did it, he didn't know. He thought it was luck. We finally broke down and asked the boss how he was able to drill through the hardened steel. And the boss said, "You can drill through hardened steel if you use a harder steel." And we slapped our foreheads because it made so much sense. And actually, he wasn't telling us anything we didn't already know. We already knew that. We just didn't apply it to drills and to the drill press. So as soon as we realized it, then we knew that it could be even easier to drill through hardened steel if we use something like carbide, because it is much harder than hardened steel. But this reminds me of the story of Jesus when he told the people they could move mountains simply by speaking to them if they only had faith. Thousands of years have passed by, and nobody is able to do this miracle that Jesus spoke of. Jesus said it could be done, but he didn't give clear instructions on exactly how to do it. But it seems as even the religious people are not following the little instructions that he did give. They're saying to a mountain, "In Jesus' name be removed," or "God said be removed," or they thought God's name was wrong and they tried to say in the name of Jehovah or in the name of Allah, "be removed." But Jesus said the mountain would obey your voice, your command. But he gives further instructions and says, "If the two of you shall agree on any one thing, it will be done." Now, Jesus wasn't talking about two Christians or two Jews. He meant if God the Father and you both agree on a thing, it will be done. Now, God wanted to destroy Sodom, but would not do it until he had a man agree with him that it should be destroyed. So when Abraham agreed that if there was not 10 righteous people in the city, then it was destroyed. It was God's will for the dry bones to come back to life, but only when Ezekiel spoke to them and Ezekiel agreed with God did they come back to life. The flood of Noah would not have come if Noah did not agree with God. One might wonder why God needs Ezekiel, Noah, or Abraham for. God judges no man, for even God knows that it would be unjust for an all-powerful, immortal God to judge an imperfect, weak, mortal man. The next word to look at here is agree. Agree always means there'll be some kind of dialogue, some kind of discussion. It's like if you ask your mother for $50 and she agrees you should have $50, then you know it's only going to be after a discussion. You know before you even ask that she is going to want to know what you need the $50 for. And if it's not a very good reason, you're not going to get the $50. So when you say to the aircraft carrier, be thou removed, you better be ready for dialogue with God. You're going to have to talk him into it. He's just not going to obey your every whim. He might not even give you an answer of why he won't do it. It's like maybe your mother might not give you an answer why she doesn't want to give you $50. I say to the USS Enterprise aircraft carrier, sink into the Red Sea. The aircraft carrier will not sink into the Red Sea unless God, the Father, agrees that this evil warship should sink. Well, of course it will sink. How can it be possible for God's will, for it to be God's will that this warship be in existence? Every religious and holy book ever written says that these warship machines are in existence because they are the creation of the devil. The devil taught men how to work steel, copper, gold, and all types of metal. Therefore, anything created out of steel, copper, gold, or tin is from the devil, and it's not God's will for it to be in existence. And all he needs is one man to agree with him. Any reason why it should sink falls into the category of doubt, disbelief, lack of faith, or simply no man of God. And all these doubts are planted by the devil. Well, there's another thing that I'll get into later. It's repercussions or cause and effect that might prevent God from calling that aircraft carrier out of existence. But let's get back to the devil taking away people's power. Jesus was tempted by the devil in the desert. The devil said, if all things are possible with God, turn these stones into bread. See, the devil seems to think that if God can do supernatural things, then he should be able to do them for the benefit of the devil. If God can turn these stones into bread, the devil can turn all the rock quarries and with the slaves and prisoners' work into bakeries, and he can make millions. This is how the devil thinks. Well, God is not going to turn the stone into bread for the benefit of the devil. Another big way the devil destroys people's faith is by claiming God is going to heal their job injuries so that industry can make billions of dollars in profit and not have to pay for people's injuries. You know, the devil must think people are really stupid. The devil tried to pull this on me. The devil tried to pull this one over on me by claiming God should heal my job injury so that workers' compensation doesn't have to pay me the $450 billion for my job injury. When people are injured on the job and God doesn't heal their injuries, they tend to believe that God cannot do any miracles. But if they would only have said, let the judge suffer $450 billion worth of pain like I suffered, then we would see a miracle, and we would see the judge screaming out $450 billion worth of pain by a supernatural injury. I just wish I had this knowledge of faith when I seen the workers' compensation judge back in 1993. The devil is so evil he believes that if a man is injured on the job, that the injured man's family should pay for his medical injuries and care, and it should not cut into industry's profit. And they learned this at the devil's church. He gave the devil's church 10% of his income and now he believes the family of the injured worker should support the injured worker. God will not heal your job injury to save workers' compensation or industry a fucking penny. If you're injured on the job, you should not live off your family's income. You'd be better off spending the rest of your life in prison for killing that factory owner or workers' compensation judge than putting a burden on your family. I'll talk more about this later. Let's not try to get too much off the subject. God is not going to destroy one country's warships so another country can rule the world. God is not going to destroy China, Japan, or Russia's aircraft carriers so the United States can be the dictators of the world. God will sink the aircraft carriers that are going against His will and not for the benefit of some evil empire. So if you tried to sink one of Russia's aircraft carriers by your voice and your faith and it didn't work, and you're wondering why, when you think you have faith and you know it's not God's will for this warship to be in existence, you have to understand that God has to agree on which warship is destroyed and when. There's no doubt in my mind that in World War II, tanks, jets, ships were supernaturally sank or called out of existence by men of faith. But it wasn't as if holy people of God or holy popes decided that this is an unjust war and just decided to call some German U-boat out of existence. It happened more like the lady whose child was trapped under a car and in a state of shock and urgency lifted the car off the child without any thought of whether it could or could not be done. People were in war. They seen people killed to their left, and they seen people blown up to their right, and they had no time to doubt whether God was going to hear their voice. They knew at that moment in time their life depended on that ship being called out of existence. And people witnessed this. And some of the people who witnessed this did not believe in God, and that's why the Philadelphia experiment conspiracy exists. People actually believed the government had a weapon that would call ships out of existence. But it was just some guy who suffered from hypothermia in the ocean, in shock, under the water, and he knew his life depended on that ship being called out of existence, and God agreed.